Hello my friends, and welcome to my video in regards to ancient Greek and Roman military subject depicted on ancient coins. So let's get started. There's a lot to go through here. We have a whole tray of 28 different coins with a lot of subjects to explore. So the ancient Greeks and the Romans, they had military gods and goddesses. But let's first start with Virtus. Virtus is the depiction of the virtue of manliness or manhood. And on this one, it pretty much talks about Virtus Avg. Inscription pretty much is the virtue or the manliness of the Roman emperor. It is often depicted almost as the Roman god Mars, the god of war. On the next coin, we have the Greek god Ares, as this being a Greek imperial coin, meaning it's a coin from a Greek city under Roman imperial power, which depicts Ares. And this depiction of Ares actually is in a Greek style where Ares is completely nude, holding a patera and a spear, and wearing the helmet. So this is a beautiful coin depicting Ares in full frontal nudity. Interesting coin. Also, notice the quality and the condition of this coin. This is ancient art captured in miniature. Next, let's move on to Mars, depicted as actually Mars, the god of peace. Notice he's actually holding a branch of peace. But what is beautiful about this coin is that it shows the military attire that the ancient Roman soldiers would wear, which would include the military helmet, the cuirass, and the spear that they would be holding. So this is a beautiful depiction of actual Mars, the god of war. So the ancient Romans would actually pray to him for victory in war. And this is a coin of Severus Alexander. Very interesting. Next, let's move on to a Greek coin with the goddess Athena. I would say the reason for Athena, her equivalent in the Roman pantheon would be Minerva, is that she was the goddess of wisdom, or almost you could say the strategy of having the wisdom to correctly do the right battle in order to win. So this is an ancient Greek coin depicting Athena. So I would say she definitely belongs in the military subject, as she's always wearing this beautiful Corinthian helmet in full military attire. And over here we have a Roman coin depicting Minerva, which is the equivalent of Athena in the Roman pantheon. And notice she's holding the shield and hurling a spear. So this is a beautiful depiction of Minerva. Her patron, her symbol was the owl, kind of like the Owl of Athens, which is depicted actually on ancient Greek coins of Athens. So she's almost like the wisdom in war, and very interesting to see her in the full military attire. Now, dealing with the subject of the emperors on horseback. This is a beautiful depiction of Emperor Nero on a military, horseback with a soldier riding behind him, almost heralding to the depictions of Alexander the Great charging forward against his enemies. And you see this is the portrait of Nero. This is a sestertius coin. The sestertius coin being the biggest bronze coins that the Romans issued as regular circulation pieces. So this is a beautiful depiction. So the horseback soldier is very important to the Roman military. And this is what the horseback soldier would do at times. He would be attacking, a guy just like standing there, and see, he's kind of like about to hurl a spear at his enemy. And this is a coin of Probus. Notice he's also having a spear on his back. So this is the victorious emperor. Understand, ancient Greek and at least ancient Roman coins specifically were to propagandize the virtuous powers of the emperor, which in a lot of times it was the militaristic valor of the emperor. You know, virtus also being the symbol of valor too. But see, this is the emperor on horseback vanquishing his foe. Beautiful depiction of that. Now, moving on to this. When you have soldiers going into battle, what you need are legionary standards and the legionary eagle. So what's interesting is that you have the aquila, which is the legionary eagle at the center. Notice there's an eagle. And on the either side are two legionary standards. The legionary eagle was the most important symbol of the legion. It was made a lot of times, my understanding, out of gold. There was only several times that the legionary eagles were lost. One time was under Emperor Augustus. Under Emperor Augustus, there was a battle of Teutoburg Forest, and the legionary eagles were lost. So when there was a deal made to get those legionary eagles back, there was actually a commemorative coin with the Parthians actually giving back the legionary eagle, and there was a coin commemorating that. But this is a coin from later. It's actually a coin of Constantine the Great. Very interesting. No, actually Maxentius II, and time of Constantine the Great, actually. And very interesting legionary standards depicted on an ancient coin. Now we have some legionary soldiers on the either sides of two standards, standing with spears and shields. Very interesting to see their depiction in the military attire. And this is an ancient Roman coin of Emperor Constantine the Great. There's a whole article I did about the coin types of Constantine the Great and related that you may also want to check out below with the article given with this video. Next, it's interesting to see that these standards would be using later Christian iconography. Because Constantine the Great, he had a vision where he was almost giving a sign by God where it said, by this sign you shall conquer. And this sign was the Cairo, the Christogram, or the monogram of Jesus Christ. On this coin is depicted actually the emperor holding the standard, tipped with the monogram of Christ, almost as a symbol of Christianity, and conquering, dragging a captive by the head while holding this symbol. And this is a coin of Theodosius I. This one has beautiful green patina, very interesting. This is another depiction of the labarum. This time, it's a victorious emperor vanquishing, and he has two captives. Notice they're captives as they have their hands tied behind their backs. But it's another interesting piece of propaganda that, understand, the Romans did not have newspapers. Yeah, they could use the word of mouth, but what better way to show the emperor's virtues than by the coins that people use in every day, and they have to use it because, you know, people have to buy food and do other things that money is necessary for. So that's an interesting depiction. Next, the soldiers would be stationed at military camps, and there were actually coins issued during the time of Constantine the Great, you know, the Constantius II being one of the sons of Constantine the Great, where they depicted the camp gate. The camp gate, this one is a rare type. It has the open doors. Is not only a military camp, but it also had on top of it, you see these little turrets over here? They had a fire signal beacon. They had almost a system of, the amounts of these lights being lit up, kind of like during the American Revolutionary War. They would light up a fire, and then miles and miles away, they would be able to see, what to do. So by having these military camps and military camp gates that would be able to communicate across the frontier, they would be able to mobilize military forces very quickly to deal with their enemies on the frontiers of the Roman Empire. Over here, what we have is an interesting coin with a battle scene. This is a victorious soldier actually plunging a spear through the back of his enemy, whose shield is right behind him, who wears the Phrygian cap. This is a beautiful depiction of a military battle scene. Next, one of the weapons of war was the chariot. On this coin, it depicts the victorious sun god, or Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, in an oncoming chariot. The reason I included this in the military depiction is that this is the only depiction that I know of the military chariot being viewed from the front. So just imagine a 4-horse chariot charging at you at full force with people holding a spear or other weapon coming to chop down their enemies. Very interesting coin. And this is a coin of Roman Emperor Probus in fantastic condition. The Romans were proud of their chariots, and so were the Greeks. Here is a 2-horse chariot. The different chariots, they had different names. You see over here, the 4-horse chariot is called a quadriga, or the 4-horse chariot. Over here, you have 2 horses carrying the chariot forward. And this is a coin of the Roman Republic from circa 104 BC. But it has a biga. Biga is 2-horse. Bi, like a bicycle, 2 wheels. This is a 2-horse chariot. Very interesting. And this is a depiction of Roma. Notice she's wearing a helmet, kind of like Athena did. So Athena is Rome's equivalent. Roma is Rome's equivalent of Athena. As Athena was to Athens, Roma was for Rome. So she was the personification of the city of Rome and also of the Roman state. She's wearing a helmet, and here we have a chariot, very interesting type. Next, this is an interesting type. Very rare coin of Seleucus the First Nicator. Nicator means, somebody that wins victories. But what it features actually is Athena in a chariot with a spear and a shield being carried forward by a quadriga, or 4 elephants. We're talking about elephants. All right. So here's the story behind this coin. In the front we have, of course, Zeus, the king of the gods. But the story behind the coin is this, is that after Alexander the Great passed on, you had the vast empire split between the generals that were with Alexander the Great. And Seleucus was one that got that part of which included India and a lot of this Middle East kind of countries. And what wound up happening is that the conquests that Alexander the Great had in India, Seleucus wound up trading those lands to the Indians for a bunch of elephants. We're talking about maybe either 100 or 300 elephants. The reason why he did the trade is because it made him almost invincible, because the elephants were the tanks of the ancient times. Imagine a wall of elephants coming at you. It is enough to terrify your opponents to flee the battlefield. This is the largest circulation piece coin. This is the tetradrachm, the standard circulation piece coin that the ancient Greeks issued. See, it's a nice big piece, 17 grams. So, very interesting, the elephant being just a formidable force that was used in military. Now, one general you could say that used elephants was Hannibal. You know, Hannibal crossing the Alps. And there was a whole story where the children would be scared that, if they didn't do their homework, or if they were being bad little boys or girls, that Hannibal would come and get them. So the Romans actually had a profound appreciation at the magnificence of the elephant. Even Caesar, in this coin of Julius Caesar, him stamping the elephant on it. You see underneath it says Caesar's name, Caesar. And this elephant is actually stamping out a serpent. And on the back, you have the symbols of the Roman religious office of Pontifex Maximus. So not only was Caesar a military general, he was also holding the office of the Roman state religion. So this is kind of interesting because it shows the symbols of his religious office too. So you have military and religion and the elephant on it too. Very magnificent coin, very popular type this elephant is. Now moving on. If you want to expand your empire, you want to move your troops. You want to move your troops in what? You want to use the ocean, which the people have been doing since, let's say, even before the Greek times, on ships. And this coin depicts a galley with a sail, actually. Very interesting type of the city of Dioltum under Gordian III. So this is an ancient Roman ship depicted, and very interesting maritime type. There are also Greek coins that depict ships on them too, but for the sake of making this video watchable, we're showing this Roman type. Now moving on to one of the most important, historically significant ships depicted on an ancient silver Roman denarius coin is one of Mark Antony, circa 32 to 31 BC, for the Battle of Actium. It featured the Praetorian galley, which is pretty much, you could say, a trireme ship, which was rowed by the soldiers. And on the back, you have the Legionary eagle with the two standards flanking it. Interesting symbolism, like another different depiction of a similar sign. But the Legionary eagle is more beautiful here than on the other symbol. Also, it's important too. At this point in time, Mark Antony was completely in love with Cleopatra. And he wound up forsaking everything for his love and even going to war with the Romans. So he minted these coins in preparation for a great battle with the forces of what was later known as Augustus. However, his group of ships, which were given to him by Cleopatra, were defeated as Mark Antony wound up fleeing at the inopportune time to chase his queen back to Egypt, where he wound up committing suicide. But either way, this is an interesting type also because it records the number of legions Mark Antony had. You see on the bottom it says Leg XIX, so this is Legion 19. My understanding is that there were over, I believe, 25 different legions, and each one had its own coin. So each legionary cohort, you could say, had, its coin minted in its honor. So to this day, we could actually enjoy the beauty and almost feel the energy of that time period of the soldiers, how they felt, how the people felt, and we can still enjoy his coins to this day. Now, let's move on to this interesting piece, which is from the Kingdom of Bosporus, from circa 131 to 154 AD. What I like about this type is that it depicts a whole bunch of things together. It has the military axe, it has the shield, it has a spear, it has a helmet, and it has a sword in a scabbard. So you have the whole military symbolism depicted on this coin. And of course the king's head on the front with his name given in Greek. So that's an interesting weapon, group of weapons depicted on ancient Greek coin of the Kingdom of Bosporus. Now, let's move on to this coin of Alexander the Great. On this coin we have the club and the bow, which were the weapons of the legendary hero Hercules. Hercules would travel in mythology and commit the 12 labors with these weapons. The club and the bow, and he would shoot a bow and an arrow. And here you have a depiction of actually Alexander as Hercules wearing the lionskin headdress. The lionskin headdress was in one of the labors. Hercules, he has to fight the Nemean lion, defeat the Nemean or pretty much kill the Nemean lion, which was ravaging the kingdom that he was tasked to help. And what was interesting about this lion is that it had impenetrable skin. So, if you shot an arrow at it, it wouldn't pierce it. If you tried to club it, the lion would be like, are you kidding me, you fool? So what he actually had to do was he actually had to strangle the lion with his bare hands and use the lion's own claws to actually skin the lion. Afterwards, he used the lion's skin, as in the skin being impenetrable, as his armor. He is depicted in ancient Greek mythology and also Roman mythology, as a borrow from the Greeks, wearing the lionskin headdress. Very interesting type. Also, it's interesting because it's of the famous, legendary, conquering hero Alexander the Great that even Julius Caesar looked up to. You see, what happened, there was actually a story where Julius Caesar visits Alexandria. This is the time when he had the love affair with Cleopatra. And he visits Alexander the Great's tomb, and he actually felt that at his age, he was much older than Alexander was at the time when he died, and that he felt that he did not accomplish enough. Being a man of ambition, Julius Caesar looked up to Alexander the Great and wished he could be as great as him. And so did many others. And even through the Middle Ages, Alexander the Great's name still resounds to this day. There's a great film by Oliver Stone, actually, Alexander Revisited, which is an uncut version of it, and really great depiction of Alexander. Next, this coin depicts the helmet, the Macedonian helmet, with the cheekbones and a little plume on the top, and the shield with a monogram, a Macedonian shield. The Macedonian shield is something depicted often on coins of ancient Macedonia. So speaking of shields, I would like to talk about specifically about a shield called the Aegis, or Aegis, which is pretty much the head of the Gorgon Medusa. Medusa was the creature with snakes for hair, and that if a mortal, or perhaps a mortal or somebody trying to fight her, looked her in the face, they would be turned to stone. You had the hero Perseus, wound up actually using his shield when he as a mirror for Medusa to look at herself, and he wound up chopping her head off. But see, this head, it had the power to turn the enemy or your foes also into stone. So he gave this head to Athena, who put it on her shield and uses an Aegis. Also, this kind of symbol was put a lot of times on the breastplate above the breast as a big symbol. If you look at the various different Roman emperors, you will see the Aegis, or a symbol kind of like this, which is almost, you could say, the Versace symbol. And if you look at the famous mosaic of Alexander the Great, he is also depicted wearing the Aegis on his breastplate. So this is a very interesting type of shield with the head of the Gorgon Medusa on the middle. And on the back you have Victory, or Nike, which is the goddess of victory. And we have the shield. So after all this battling, you destroy your enemies, you run them down with chariots, you spear them, you scare them to death with elephants, and the such, you gotta have a goddess victory. So as I mentioned, Victory, or Victoria, is the Roman goddess of victory, a personification of victory. She is most often depicted holding the wreath and the palm. The wreath she would put on top of the victorious. It used to be used for athletic games, but later was adopted for military commanders and generals, and would be put on top of their head, symbolizing their great victory. And the palm was also a symbol of victory, more borrowed from its Olympic type of style games counterpart athletic contests. So what's interesting about this coin is that it actually celebrates Augustus's victory over the assassins of Julius Caesar, Brutus, and Cassius at the city called Philippi, and where he settled the veterans. And this coin was issued honoring that victory, showing the standards, symbolizing the great soldiers that won the battle, and very important, historically significant coin of Augustus, the first Roman emperor. Another way that the victory was shown and depicted on ancient coins is of the personification as a captive mourning his loss in the great military campaign. On this coin of Roman Emperor Trajan, we have a Dacian captain, or pretty much the province of Dacia, personified, seated there in a mourning position with a little sword below that he's like, oh man, I can't fight anymore, I'm done. So the victorious generals, the victorious emperors, would depict their victories a lot of times with, a crying captive, or the symbolism of that thing. Like, for example, Judea Capta. That was an interesting series to depict also. See, sometimes it's also depicted as a bound up, captive. See, you have the goddess of victory. She's holding the trophy, which I'll show in the next coin, which is the military weapons put together on a stick of their fallen foes, of their defeated foes, that was used as a trophy to show their victory. It's a coin of Constantine the Great, and it's a victory over the Sarmatians, and Sarmatia Devicta. That's what the inscription says. So that's an interesting thing also with the depiction of the trophy. Another thing that they did also in Rome, they had the rostra, where they would take the fronts of ships, actually, and it was a magnificent sight where they would take the fronts of ships, and it was kind of like a place where they had it almost like the trophy that they had of the weapons. For the ocean, they would have the rostra, which is another interesting thing. Now, moving on to this trophy. This is probably the best depiction of it, because you could see you have a little helmet on the ground. You have little spears in the background. You have the armor that the enemy foe was wearing. You have this shield. You have his helmet, and maybe a sword somewhere. So, very interesting depiction of the trophy. That's how a victorious emperor would show off his great military victory. And this is a coin of Septimius Severus. Very interesting. It's a denarius coin. Now, for those special occasions, and for people that like to show off especially much, like Emperor Nero over here, another sestertius coin, you would also build the Triumphal Arch. The Triumphal Arch sometimes would have, a quadriga, which is the chariot on the top. You see, it's almost like this symbol over here. And you would actually have a procession through Rome, and you would walk through there and dedicate this arch. Right by the Colosseum, there is still the Arch of Titus, which is dedicated the Romans' victory over the Jewish people in Judea in 69, circa 70 AD. And it still stands to this day, and it shows a procession of Titus with all the, booty, all the loot that was taken from the great Jewish temple, which was consequently used to build the Flavian Amphitheater or the Colosseum under Emperor Titus from 79 to 81 AD. So this is an architectural type, and there's also the type of the column. There was a Trajan. He built a column dedicated to his victory over the Dacians, which still stands to this day, which you could still see, that shows his military exploits, and is a very interesting sight to behold still in Rome to this day. So I'm excited to have shared the subject of the ancient Greek and Roman military portrayed in ancient coins. All these coins are actually available for sale. There is an article, a link to the article below this video, which you could check out and see pictures of these coins, see their description, and see the such. Look at the examples of these coins. So I recommend thumbing up this video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and checking out a lot more of the articles and videos and much more, because this is a very interesting subject. I'm happy to share this. I'm looking forward to deal with you guys soon. And yeah, great to have you watching. Bye-bye.